All right then. So, welcome back. This is the plot key. We're going into the darker corners of writing today. The trope is the Dark Lord. So, out the gate, I'm going to ask you both, what is the most ridiculous depiction of this trope that you've seen? Like, just off the top of your head, which one stands out in terms of like these villains and whether they had a motivation or whether they were just a force of nature?
But say that again. What stands out? What
Yeah,
type
what
of villain?
ridiculous examples can you just think of a villain just, cardboard cutout, run the numbers? Like, all right, I'll start.
Cookie cutter.
Me personally, I'll say Palpatine. Original Star Wars. He existed literally just to be evil. Let's be honest. His goal was ultimate power. I know, Emma Remy, you might be biased. Like, I see you might want to defend him, but I'm just putting it out there. I think
I'll be honest with you. I didn't even recognize the name. Again, I'm not a
No,
big.
me
I'm not.
neither. It took
you
me
don't
a
recognize
second.
Emperor Palpatine.
I'm not big like Star Wars. Wasn't my thing.
Original Star Wars guy with the
I'm a
hood.
guest. I'm a guest in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is he the red one?
No, that's Darth Maul. Okay, let me make this clear.
What?
Hold on,
Guys.
hold on. I got a way to tie this in. Like, you've probably seen the image guy with the hood talking to Darth Vader
Is
through a
he the old
hologram.
man?
Yeah, like,
Gotcha.
yeah, evil for evil's
Right,
sake.
not the red one.
Yeah, that's Darth Maul. He's a better villain, actually, in some way. And he did less, but yeah, just on him, he had no motivation. He only existed to be evil, ultimate power, that sort of thing. So we're just talking about those kinds of villains to start with. Do you have any examples that stand out to you as just ridiculous? Didn't really, offer much other than a blockade for the hero.
I know this is going to sound strong. Maybe Hades, Hercules. Like, obviously because Hades in mythology, he is the Dark Lord. He is evil. But in Hades, like in Hercules, they do give him more of a character, like a funny
Right.
twist. So when you look at it from that perspective, you're then like, oh, you're literally just the villain to be the villain, really.
Mhm.
Like, you do link to mythology and how mythology works, but he wasn't actually that bothered about Meg.
Yeah.
He wasn't actually like, I'm going to rule the world, I'm going to destroy you. He was just like, come on, this guy's well annoying. Let's get rid of him. It was more that kind
Yeah.
of side of it, more than I am an evil villain.
I agree with that. I think later on they tried to build in the resentment factor. I think Hades felt alienated
Mm-hmm.
because in the beginning you see this big glamorous thing for Hercules, right? And then Hades shows up and he's like, I guess my invite was missed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. And you remember that as
that's
well.
the
So
beginning.
yeah, so you
Yeah.
guys are actually talking about a good example of a villain because he is the archetype. But I'm just saying those, like Saturday morning cartoon style ones where it's just what's their scheme this week, that kind of thing. Like, do you have any that stand out to you guys in terms of villains?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the first one I wanted to use was Syndrome from The Incredibles. He was, in my opinion, just the catalyst for bringing supers out of retirement.
Yeah.
That was it. But he wasn't even a good one. He wasn't even one that like threatened the world to where it was necessary for supers to just say, forget the law. We got to stand up because we are capable. No.
Yeah, his
This dude
motivation was
picked
quite
on-
weak. Yeah.
It was really weak, and he killed so many supers for a very weak motivation. When you get to the darkness of it, this dude killed those supers.
Mm-hmm.
All because, he couldn't be super and work with, his idol. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
But as far as like his motivations, how weak was that? And he wasn't a great villain. Like, nothing about him was strong. He was just petty and rich.
Well, yeah.
That seems to work in everyday society, let alone in superheroes. Like,
I was gonna
what
say,
can
now
we
you're
say?
saying it, I can think of a few more villains, but I ain't gonna name drop.
Well, I mean, you said Saturday morning cartoons, man. Tom and Jerry. Tried and true, right?
Mm-hmm.
That to me comes down to, I don't know if it's Darwinism or if it's just the ecosystem, right? But that comes down to predator and prey.
Yeah.
And so I think it's simplified, right? That to me, that's cookie cutter. It's like, no, let's go back to these are the natural prey. You know, rats or mice, whatever, are natural prey for cats, feline.
Do you know Tom and Jerry, Abby?
Yeah, it's actually one of my childhood favorites. It's my granddad's favorite ever. Both of my grandparents are actually deaf, so things like Tom and Jerry were great because he didn't need to understand really what's going on because it was as simple as human nature. Like, cats kill mice. Like, that's as simple as it gets. But I would like to argue with Tom and Jerry, there is multi-layered villains. Because although Tom is the main villain, he's technically not because he is soft to Jerry. Yeah. And then you've got the dog, and then you've got the human. Like, it goes up in stages, which makes it like more multi-layered.
I hated that dog.
Is it the dog's owner and Tom's owner? Like the two like barely motion humans. You literally get like their knees down.
Yeah.
Well, I would argue the newer material versus like the original material, the black and white stuff, way more friendlier.
Oh, for
to
real?
The youth. Oh, absolutely. If you go back in time and look at it, I would say your argument is not true, Abby. I would say today's stuff, like even if you go back to, you know, our childhood, maybe it's friendlier. They are essentially enemies, but they're always kind of nice to each other because you know what? If they actually kill them, then the game's over, right? That's how it is. But in the old stuff, it's like, no, it's like it's a cartoon, so let's do the worst things possible to these things. And you know what I mean? To these characters, and that's really dark. It was actually really dark back, you know what I mean? And then it was a child's program. Are you kidding me? But I would say, and that's why I disagree with you about the original stuff. I think it definitely changed to be more multi-layered, but in the beginning it was simple, like pain equals comedy when it's not humans, or if it's a human that's an idiot or something. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Looney Tunes is a fantastic example of idiocy by winning. Like Sylvester and Tweety and Bugs and
that's a good point. Like, yeah, that's classic, like hunter and prey villain. But obviously, the guy with the gun with Bugs was always the idiot. The human was always the fool. It was never he'd get him ever. Oh yeah, you had Coyote and Roadrunner as well.
Yeah.
Same thing with Sonic the Hedgehog and his Dr. Robotnik.
Dr. Robotnik. Yeah, that's a good point.
But what was the whole point of that? Like, why are you messing with furry animals?
Yeah, he's not really a layered villain either.
World.
Yeah, and see, this is my point, and this is why with this trope, I think, would you say there are more bad examples than good examples of this trope? Do you think there are any good examples of the villains out there? Okay, so what examples of good villains would you say? Just off the top of your head, which ones stand out to you?
First villain that comes to my mind is obviously Voldemort. No, he who shall not be named, but that's because every week I seem to manage to find a way to reference the damn
you always bring up this guy.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I keep referencing them.
He's the Dark Lord.
I also think that he's a very basic level Dark Lord. He is he is mentioned throughout the films, but his time on screen, he is just simply, I am really powerful. It's not like he's multi-layered. Like, for example, Darth Vader in Star Wars, he is much more multi-layered because he has the initial connection to Luke and all that sort of thing, which is much more interesting in a villain, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong. And another one I'll throw in there is Killmonger from Black Panther. He had a very good reason to the point where the main character kind of changed how he viewed the whole situation. He had to change his ideas.
Accountability.
Yeah, so that kind of stood out to me as, okay, it's a good villain when you almost agree with what they're doing. You're kind of like, oh, well, he's got a point. Thanos, another one.
Hey, spot on. I think you opened up a bigger conversation. You said, it's a true, it's a successful villain when you kind of agree with them, right?
Yeah.
I think that's different. I think some people, when you hate a character, that's how you know it was a good character.
True.
Like because that character did an excellent job, right? That
got a point.
That character's job was to make you hate them, and you hated them.
You got a point. Joffrey, Game of Thrones, season 1. Everyone
Can't
hated
even
that
get
kid.
a job.
Everyone hated that kid to the point
They're
where
like,
in real
nobody
life
will
he was
see
getting
you ever
harassed, and he's like, I'm playing a character.
That's not funny, right? But that's a very good point. And there's some method actors that you're like, dude, this is who you are in real life. Don't lie to me. You are a villain.
Yeah, you play that role too well.
Way too well.
Method acting is a whole nother conversation. Method acting is crazy.
But even with that, it's like with the Joker, that example where they say he went too far and then, he ended up passing away. Like, around that, it's still not clear what happened there, but...
I mean, Heath Ledger?
Yeah.
For Joker?
He really got into that role.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I respect that. I like people like Shia LaBeouf. Mm-hmm. I like people like Tom Hardy. I wouldn't want to work with these people. I'm not an actor, though.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to work with these people because they probably take their roles way too far.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to watch anything that they were in if they didn't go that far. You see what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
But I needed them to find a role that made sense for them to go all in on.
Yeah. So as an audience, we're to blame because we want to see this.
Yes.
We want to see the best performances.
It's not... Well, think about how many stories exist and then how many actors exist to play these parts.
Right.
And we're expecting this small, ecosystem to fit all of the characters and all of these story plots. How does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, they have to do the best they can, right? Or realize, hey, you know what? This is who I am. I'll change the background of my character, but I fit this role the best. So put stories where this character exists in every damn story.
Yeah, it becomes a new trope as well.
The Rock.
The Rock is a perfect example. Kevin Hart, it's just when they have a very singular kind of gift, if you will, they want to maximize that, and then they want to duplicate it, and they want to just regurgitate. Obviously, they hope it's going to continue to entertain, but it loses its appeal.
I got one more good Marvel example.
And I love The Rock, by the way. I just wanted to
yeah, this is going out. This is public. So your opinion?
I rock with The Rock.
All right. He's all right. He's all right. No one.
But I missed the Walking Tall Rock.
That Rock, yeah. Yeah, not really like, what was it? Like when
Red Notice,
Fast Five
Rock.
And Hobbs and Shaw. That's not really my thing. But I've got one more good Marvel example. Magneto. He survived the Holocaust. He was caring about other mutants. He didn't want them to go through the same thing. That was what was driving his whole ideology. So when you're seeing him doing these harsh things and you kind of like, you know what? Yeah, you've been persecuted. You've been through a lot. So you kind of sympathize with him in a lot of ways. Like, would you agree with that with Magneto?
To be honest, I don't know masses of background on Magneto, which is a little bit of a...
But X-Men, main villain.
Yeah, I can understand it from the perspective of trauma makes everyone different and everyone experiences things in their own way, and how you deal with that is your own choice. Mm-hmm. So if it turns out you end up being a super baddie and try and destroy the world, that you do you, boo. Like, go for it. If that's what works for you. It doesn't work for me because you're trying to destroy the world, but that makes you feel better. I completely get that. And it's also the portrayal of he's tried to be a good person, like trying to save all those people, and it's obviously not worked. So he's gone, I'm just going to be evil. Like, at least he's given it a go before he's decided
someone
to be
had to do something. Is that kind of villain where it's like you're watching the persecution, you rise up against, whatever the good force is, and it just puts you at odds with this person, so you're automatically in that role of now you're the antagonist, where we only feel that way because we're watching it from the other point of view. Whereas if we were watching it, Magneto was the main character, we'd kind of be like, you know what, this guy, he's a hero. Another one, Punisher, like, he kills criminals. Not everyone agrees with it, not everyone likes it, but they can understand it, like some of these crimes that...
Yeah, it's Angel of Death, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very much Angel of Death.
Yeah.
It's like Dexter. He was an Angel of Death, but people don't agree because obviously you're still killing people, which is bad.
Right.
But you are killing bad people, which makes it better, but it's still not good.
Right, that's Light from Death Note as well. He got that notebook, started killing criminals. FBI were onto him. That started the whole thing. Yeah, he kind of fits that mold.
So I was gonna opine on God,
Magneto.
who'd you Magneto
Yeah.
specifically? Yeah, I love that reference. By the way, I think you hit the nail on the head on that one. And then Abby, you followed through. But let me twist it around. You guys keep saying villain, bad. That's subjective. What makes them the villain? Especially when you say, "Hey, well, I mean, I agree with you, but I don't like your approach."
Yeah.
So what makes them a villain? You know what I mean? Because what's your approach? And they're like, "Well, we got to figure out no." So you don't have an approach. You want to figure out a new approach? Well, you've had all this time to figure out a new approach. This approach will work. That's the Thanos approach. It's like, no, we tried it this way. Now we're going to try it this way. We're going to keep trying stuff until it's fixed.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And no one likes that person, right? They're like, we could just make this work. Nope.
It's got to be this way.
It's not. That doesn't work. And you're just limping along, and you're okay with limping because at least you're moving. Nah, we're going to break that leg, get you a new leg in there, and that way you can move a little faster. And people are like, whoa, I think I can work with this leg. And they're like, nah, we tried it your way.
I just want to
think about it.
I just want to jump on the back of that as well. So let's talk about Ebro for a second. How did you approach, because again, he's that figure. He kind of, in the early stages, he fills that mentor role because he's explaining what's going on. But, it's revealed he is kind of villainous. So, like, how were you looking at that as well to avoid him just becoming a caricature of a villain, just evil for evil's sake?
Everyone has a school teacher they didn't like, principal they didn't like, someone in authority they didn't like. That's Ebro. Does that make that person in your life a villain? You didn't like them. You don't like their approach. You had to listen to them for a set amount of time, and you're like, there's resentment.
Yep.
But you listen to them, you learn something from them too. And you're like, I never want to work with that person ever again. I never want to be under that person's thumb again, whatever. But then you think back 15 years later, and you're doing something, and it made you think about, I learned this 15 years ago under that asshole. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, But you learned it. You learned something. That's Ebro. So he's not a villain. He's an instructor. I make that very clear. He is there to teach you to survive. Survival comes at a cost, right? No one wants to die, I don't think, right? So when you're approached with death, you're going to have to do some things that you wouldn't say you would naturally do, because naturally death don't come for you that in certain manners, like it will for these characters. So you have to move accordingly. And in order for you to move accordingly, there's repetition involved. You have to be on edge sometimes. You have to be this person that you never thought you'd be, and you have to be trained by someone you absolutely never want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that Ebro's going to survive. That's why he's training people to survive. They say, hey, this is the model. Y'all need to be doing whatever he's doing if you expect to live.
Yeah. So it's the kind of thing of, I don't like him, but I have to respect him because, he's got the body of work. He's proven. He's verified what he's saying. So it's like, I don't like the messenger.
Do your best. Everyone will have their chance to do it their way, whether they make it or not. But right now, you know nothing. So you will learn from the person who's willing to take the time to teach you. That's what you have to respect.
And I just want to remind the audience, the first 3 chapters are still available at otp.ai. Go now, read them.
Pre-orders too.
This is it. Get involved, figure out what's going on. And again, before we move on, I just want to know, would you say Voldemort or Thanos? Like, which one, where would you rank those two? Because I think they're equally big in their universes.
I think Thanos whoops him. Whoops him every time.
All right, not physical.
Every time.
Let's not say, we're not talking about a fight. Like, let's talk about the quality of...
I mean, just generally, in terms of strength.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, if you're going, right, we're ranking these villains.
Yeah.
Who's number 1, who's number 2? It has to be Thanos. I'm biased anyway, because I love Marvel. But
yeah.
this man literally goes like that. You're all out.
Yeah.
He had to fight a teenager for 7 films. You joking?
You know what? Fair point. But Voldemort for centuries was carrying that kind of, his name rang bells a lot. Like a lot of people. There was a lot of lore.
He was also kind of dead.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's that. He didn't succeed, so if we're ranking villains,
Reached out from the grave and he fought a teenager. That's impressive.
Okay, so let me ask it this way:
Something like that is a bit more impressive.
Yeah, and he was able to split himself up in multiple ways, hide little pieces of his essence within the hero.
Yeah. Thanos couldn't do that. He died.
Yeah, but Thanos got those stones.
Well, yeah, he assembled
all the pieces.
Still died.
Okay, so who was closer to success?
No, I want to answer the question.
Go on.
Hold on. The before part. So, I think Voldemort. My issue. That's not my answer, but I think that my issue with Voldemort. I think they both tried to reset the world, right? Just not our world, but like whatever their world is, right? Thanos was like, no, I want to be unbiased about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know what I mean? And he's like, if I go, I go. I kind of respect that, right? Because in his mind, he's just like, we all need to reset. Imagine how much we will thrive, right? I don't say I agree with that, by the way.
I was about to say,
you know what I mean? I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, that's how simple it came off, right?
Yeah.
But it was a reset. Voldemort differently. He's just like, no, our hierarchy needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Why are we even in the same arena as these muggles? Why do we have the same job? Like, you know what I mean? No, that they should be our slaves.
Yeah.
So his reset was more so like, if you are able to do X, that's it. Then you're above people who can't do X.
Mm-hmm.
That's a completely different mentality, and I think that was, to me, I think Thanos was more compassionate than Voldemort in a sense.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Like the villain that's just malicious, just to be malicious. And it's like there's nothing driving this character. He only exists like just as malice personified, that kind of thing. And that's not appealing. So that brings me to my next question. I'm going to throw this to both of you. What trait do you think a villain would need to make them compelling?
Rage.
You have to.
Okay, elaborate.
You need something to be annoyed about. You need it. To be able to, anger is a massive driver in anything. Anger is one of the strongest forces of adrenaline and motivation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're annoyed about something, you're more likely to put more energy into it, I think, than
That's
you
true.
are if you're just like, oh, that's a little bit inconvenient. I'm going to take over the world because you lot are rubbish. I could do that job 10 times better than you. That's why I should be in charge. Like, oh, he's a bit rubbish at admin, so I guess I'll take over the world. Like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
You've got to have the drive, the oomph. That's why they go through, not a lot of the heroes go through a traumatic event by the other person, as mentioned in last week's. Because they're now annoyed that person has ruined something such an important thing to them. Then I'm like, I need revenge. I need to ruin your life. Like, you ruined mine. Like, it's that energy.
Rage.
You have to have it.
Okay, so we got rage. ML Remy, I'll throw it to you.
They have to have a relatable moment. I'm not saying the entire character has to be relatable.
Yeah.
They have to have a relatable moment. And honestly, I think the best characters that, come off as the antagonist, I'll say. I don't actually agree with the term villain, to be clear, but the antagonist in a story, I like them when you start off liking them. If you gravitate towards the antagonist, right? I think that's a really great antagonist. That's a great character because they're so relatable to, I would say they're easily relatable because of specific moments that gravitate to more people, right? Whatever the trauma, whatever, XYZ that led up to the thing that is heinous, right? Or malicious or whatever like that. To me, there's always going to be someone that agrees with it, right? But that's not the point of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so back to what you said, Abby, about the rage, the best rage is the quiet one. It's the one that's been lying dormant for 20 years because they've been meticulously moving chess pieces around to get, at the end of it all. And you're like, you've been playing in this since the beginning. That rage, because it takes rage. You know what I mean? To keep that type of meticulous plotting and planning and, bending. And that, oh my gosh, that person is terrifying. Because when you start to unravel, oh my gosh, they've set this up for this long. You're terrified because you have no idea what else they've been doing in that time.
I like the calculated villain with a plan, which is why I'm quite surprised neither of you liked Voldemort, because he had the rage and his plan was in motion for so long it was almost a prophecy. His name was mentioned a lot of times before he appeared on screen. So yeah, I just like villains with a plan, and that will lead me on to my next question. Where do you draw the line on, where should a writer draw the line on having the sympathy for a villain or making a villain sympathetic to the point that the audience root for them? Where do you think that line sits?
There is no line, man. Like, if you're writing a true story, it's complicated. It's not going to be clean. People. Here's how people work. You got players, you got coaches, you got sideline people, you got spectators. People got to figure out where they're going to be, and they're going to either choose to get on board with the villain, an antagonist, and their vision, their objective, and that's just because some people just like being on the losing side, or some people genuinely want to see that side win, in which case, when does the antagonist become the actual protagonist? Right. You see what I'm saying? So It's like, honestly, it's all about how many votes can you sway with your argument and with your approach.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the line of, in general terms, obviously this is something you should morally agree with and this is something you shouldn't. Yeah. But everyone has their own opinion, their own voice. I mean, something that we all agree with can be completely villainous to somebody else. True. It's a matter of interpretation. And I think a story is more interesting when people have their own dark side and their own flaws. So having it so black and white, I think, especially in the more modern fantasy genre, is a little bit boring. Yeah. Because although people do want a hero and a villain, some people are drawn to the villain more than they are the hero because they generally prefer their personality. Yeah. Some people, the bad boy, for example, who normally is a villain in that sort of thing. Yeah. Or because, everyone's different. We're all human, and sometimes you're in the mood to fancy a villain. Sometimes it gets a bit boring. Yeah. Following the hero. You go like, oh, we're going to go and save the world again. Yeah. Sometimes you just want them to save somebody else. Or, I think that's, especially with, controversially, Fantastic Four came out again recently. Their 10-year renewal to keep their contract nice and sealed. I think a concept like Fantastic Four could go somewhere so crazy if they let it.
Do you know how many times they've tried to reboot this thing?
Well, that's because they have to with their contract.
I was about to say, right around every 10 years.
Marvel got Spider-Man.
Okay, so it's a Sony Marvel thing.
Because Sony were the original owners of Spider-Man, and then they passed over the rights to Marvel. But for Sony to keep Fantastic Four, they have to produce a movie every 10 years. That's why the films are every 10 years. They don't do anything with it, just to keep the rights. Because otherwise, then Marvel could have the rights.
But don't they think they're devaluing the IP by doing that?
Who cares? They want to own the IP, but to your point, they don't care. They, and if they did care, they would give us a more quality, consistency with some of these characters. Yeah. But I'm tired of talking about superheroes. To be honest with you, I could care less about these old tropes, that keep being regurgitated. Storylines that we've. They changed the storyline a little bit. That's just because of, whatever. But I'm done with it.
You got the fatigue. You got superhero fatigue.
The fatigue, yeah, sure. That's there because I love the idea of superpowers, and it's making people hate that idea. But I don't want people to attribute an ability to superheroes and villains. That's what I'm done with. I like phenomenals. I like witchcraft. I like, you know what I mean? I like things that are more ritualistic powers. You see what I'm saying? Or developed powers, you know, through learning. Not you were born this way, now you have to go save the world. Done with it.
All right, so I'm going to stamp that because that is an interesting topic as well. The world of abilities, their origins. Because like you said, there is a big difference between like the magic, you know, you got, like we spoke about Harry Potter earlier on, and Voldemort, that kind of combat, and then you've got the superheroes, which is like building busting, like entire cities getting leveled, you know, you got beams, you got a guy that can stretch really far, and it's just kind of like we've seen it, it's been done to death. It's time for something new. So I do understand the hero fatigue.
Oh, superheroes are classic. I'm just so biased to Marvel.
I was about to call you out.
I'm the wrong girl to be talking about hating superheroes.
I was about to call you out on
that. I love them.
It's non-hate.
It's non-hate. Marvel is oversaturated now. I completely agree. But there's a classic superhero film is that you don't have to know 10 years worth of history to go in and just watch the film and enjoy it for being a film.
Right.
That's my main thing about Marvel right now, is that you have to have too much context to be able to enjoy a film. And that for me is like, I go to films for escapism. Yeah. I don't want to have to do homework before I can escape the house through entertainment. And I completely get that like fantasy universes and a lot of that, you do need to invest the time. But with things like film, the whole point of film, I think, is simple entertainment. And I understand that the universe is obviously expanding and people want complicated stories, and that's okay for the people that want that. But the origin of superheroes was, here is a simple formula that we can blast up on the TV for you so you can enjoy it.
Right.
And these characters do have depth to a degree, but not so much that you need a degree to be able to watch the film. Which for me is a win.
Yeah.
Like I'm using my brain all day on the computer, so I don't want to have to think about it too hard. But I think that's another thing about a fluffy romance book. The girls just want two people to fall in love in a nice way. They don't like to be complicated.
There's not much more
They
there.
just want him and her to genuinely fall in love, believe it. Like, sometimes you just need a soppy romance, a rom-com. Like, all of those things are so wonderful, don't get me wrong. A really good fantasy series is a really good fantasy series. Remy, if you've not read the Red Rising series, I think that would be quite up your alley. It's by Pierce Brosnan, I think that's his name. I've not read it, but a lot of the booktuber girlies that I watch love that series. It's a very political, heavy fantasy series. So that would probably be quite up your alley. But sometimes you want an in-depth and sometimes you want something easy. Yeah. And I think superhero films have gone to the basis of, here is just some good action entertainment.
Okay, so on the other side of the spectrum, alright, so just to bring it to the antagonist, how would you go about humanizing an antagonist? Like, what is one trait you'd give them, or one scenario? You mentioned a little thing on this earlier, Emma or Remy. But what I would say is the easy way to do it is give them a child, a spouse, give them something to care about other than the mission. That would be the way I look at it. So, like, how do you guys look at that as well? What would you say for that? What trait would you give them, or scenario, or?
Well, I think you said give them, the child or the spouse. And now, why would you do that? That's so others, the readers or the film watcher or whatever, will like that character more, because they feel, oh my gosh, I have a kid. I do whatever. It might not look right, but I'll do whatever for my kid or my wife or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the cop out, sure. Another character I would give them is you have to give them something that makes them unusual, not common, right? An anomaly. So There's something about who they are that they never would have done anything different than what they are doing right now, because they're just born different. Or, you know what I mean? There's or whatever trauma, whether it be trauma or it's just, no, that's how this person develops.
Like the Joker. In every iteration, he always ends up being the Joker again. It doesn't matter how it happens, he always ends up being this character again. So that's a good example of that, actually. Like, they have to have something about them that kind of leads them to the villainy, rather than it's just, you know, I was born.
I think, again, mental health is a great option for that kind of route. Going through something,
right,
having something slightly different about you, or meeting somebody. Like, it's like the Harley Quinn Joker, going back to the Joker.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn was just a normal person. She was a psychologist, which is how she met the Joker. And then she fell in love with how different he was and decided, I want to be crazy too. And they were crazy together. And that was their journey and their story.
The way you said that is like she opted in.
No.
I don't think she wanted to be crazy too. I think she wanted to be free. There's a difference. She was like, I don't want to conform to what I've been conforming to. I want to be free like this dude.
Yeah.
This dude doesn't give a shit. He just does what he does. And I think that's what she wanted to, and realized, hey, I'm attracted to this guy. I could be his queen too, but I know in order to do that, I got to let it all go. And I got to become whoever I'm going to become by letting it all go.
Yeah.
And hope that this man also accepts me when he sees what that person is, which chances are he will, you know, is her hope. But in actuality, he's either plotting against her or he has no idea what's waiting for him, because I do believe there's a lid for every pot. And so I love the whole, there's always a relationship no matter which side of the table you're sitting on.
Yeah.
I believe in that, because that's the only way, in my personal opinion, and we can get to this, a side wins is if they have the support system. And it doesn't have to be the spousal support system. But they need some type of support on there. You can't do anything alone. But back to the right before this, Abby, you said something about, you know, simplified, and heroes provide that simple action, you know, superpower fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I challenge you to think about these two references. Practical Magic, which was a book first, and then it became a film with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and they are literally witches. They're hedge witches. And so their antagonist was abusive relationships, boyfriends, ex-husband, da-da-da-da-da. And then they, you know, used what they learned from their grandmothers and to protect their family, you know what I'm saying, against this bad abuse.
That's interesting.
And so you know what I mean? So I see, like, that was the magic part. And then another reference would be Chronicle, not a superhero movie, right? And that is stumble upon something foreign, gives you abilities, and then you realize who you are. It's not the ability, it's the abilities gave you license to just be who you are.
Yeah.
And then you start to see there's the jock, which was the Michael B. Jordan character that actually turned out to be more, hey, I'm pretty grounded. I'm a grounded guy, you know what I mean? And I'm actually pretty much a geek, just like you guys. There's the funny guy, right? He's the Matt, I think it was his cousin or something like that. And then he finds a skill. He learns to fly really well. He flies better than everyone at a certain point. And so now that gives him purpose. And then he also sees himself responsible for his cousin and his friend that he introduced to his cousin.
Yeah.
And so that becomes like, he becomes the leader, the unlikely leader. And then you get the misfit, the one that's had the most trauma, and now he has power. And yeah, he has new friends or whatever and a family member, but now with this new power, he's just like, I don't have to listen to these assholes, or I don't have to, you know, I don't want to be kept in check by my so-called friends either, because I'm stronger than them. Who are they to put me in check? We all got this power together, and I learned how to use it better than them. So you start to learn who people are, and I love that world of super abilities, if you will, because the antagonist became very clear, and it provided an opportunity for you to, you know, feel some type of way about that antagonist. You saw his home life. You saw what he was dealing with day to day from his stepfather or whatever he was. And you know what I mean? And it's like, oh my gosh, you feel for this kid. And then you saw him try to engage with his high school and like do magic tricks and try to meet a girl. but his self-esteem is so broken the moment he embarrassed himself. That was it. On top of that, he had to go back home. Not a great home. Bam, he loses it because he can't. He has powers, and he's just like, you know what? Why am I conforming? I am cool. So I'm sorry, I don't go back and forth, but I wanted to bring those two examples up.
And I was going to say that's actually what Syndrome should have been. He should have been more like that. That would have made him a more compelling character. Because when he shows up, it's just like, this is some annoying kid. Like, no one cares about what he's got going on. Or, like, whatever plans he's got. Like, he's killing supers, but we're not looking at that as, oh, this is impressive. This guy with that power has figured out how to do all these different things. He just comes across as very flat. Not one of the more memorable, villains from the Disney roster. And Disney are usually good at doing villains, I would say. Personal favorite, Jafar,
I would say villains, yes, but again, I don't like that term. So because I also think it's very specific. I don't think it's always synonymous.
Yeah, with true. No, that's true.
So I agree with you when you say Disney does villains well, because that is their trademark, is a villain.
Yeah,
and a hero.
Even if we look at the formula. Yeah, you are right. Like, there is a distinct difference, of course, because the antagonist is just whoever's moving the story forward. They're at odds with the hero, but they're not necessarily like an evil force or something malicious. It could just be someone, the antagonist could be someone trying to pay bills, and their whole story, they can't figure it out. They keep hitting these.
Well, and also, you see this adult and they're hesitant to put their entire life, whatever, that's in jeopardy in the hands of some teenager who just came into his own abilities. Yeah, right. I get that. But no, I'm not trying to team up with this 13-year-old either. I got real shit to do.
Yeah.
I got real people I got other adults I can work with to solve my problems. I don't need this guy. So, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's just thinking. Same thing with Scar. And he's just you skip, and it goes straight to I think they did a new rendition where it talks about Mufasa and Scar's
like they've tried to extend it and build it out. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but
I haven't seen it. But where I was getting at was Scar's relationship with Simba, right? It's right over Mufasa. Mufasa was the catalyst.
Yeah.
In that storyline. You see what I'm saying? And there's a lot of complexity behind that brother relationship versus the uncle relationship versus the lion pride.
Yeah, that whole...
You know what I mean? That's actual, they're animals.
The primal nature comes into it. Yeah, you know what, you're right. The
question is like, this is normal.
Yeah.
Like, why are we villainizing Scar when literally there's
Scar
in every pride?
Yeah, that's only just occurred to me now. We only look at it that way because they're speaking and there's a few songs in there, a few catchy songs. So they're just like...
And Disney has got the power of colour in their hands. Animation has such a good room for colour. The psychology of colour is so interesting. Like, damn straight, that villain. If you saw that villain in a bright yellow t-shirt, you go, whatever, mate. Because he's got the cloak, the robes, the rich reds and purples, and Disney know what they're doing when it comes to color contrast and making that villain stand out. Like, every villain in Disney, I put money, has got some sort of shade of purple or a really rich dark color in some form, because you associate villains in dark colors. That's just what it is. Like Darth Vader, he was in a full black outfit. Voldemort had a big black cloak. He had dark greens and emeralds and rich, powerful dark colors.
Darth Vader's outfit was kind of fire though. Like,
oh yeah,
we can't knock that. Like, I know it's a bit generic, but we can't hate on Darth Vader. Like,
but it's like Thanos. His skin was purple.
True. There's no reason.
Like, superheroes are red. Iron Man is red. Superman is red. Like, Spider-Man is red.
Yeah.
Because you associate more primary colors with superheroes, and that's how they were in the comics, and that's how they are in traditional artwork.
Yeah.
Like, Green Goblin. He was literally dark green. He was the contrasting villain to Spider-Man. He was dark shades of blues and greens. So when they came together in a scene, it was a clash because you had bright, like big spikes of yellow. But that's just me being nerdy because I love the psychology of color.
No, that's amazing that you said that, because I do have a question about that, and I was going to say, like, moving past the tall, pale villain that's wearing like dark clothes, I was going to say, what kind of visual cues stand out to you both as, oh, this villain could be a bit more interesting just based off the look? So not even like their mentality. Let's just talk purely surface level character design. Which ones stand out to you as kind of like breaking that trope? You've mentioned a few good ones in there.
Aren't they? Always the edgy one. I feel like it's very rare that a villain, unless it's one of those ones where the villain is part of the friendship group and then they go off and become edgy. Like, a lot of the time they are I've got a big fringe, or Sasuke. I'm a little bit different than the rest. I'm more shy, or I don't really find that funny and everyone else finds that funny. Like, it's that I'm different. Like, I'm clearly different in how I dress, in how I act. That's more the main things for me.
Yeah. I like the villains that, like, design wise. I do like I like Jafar's character design. He's wearing dark, but he's also wearing dark red. He's not necessarily just, bright colors, high contrast. And again, I think because of the the reference of the culture it's based on, it is a bit different and a bit out there. Like, we're not used to seeing characters like that. So for me, that was like literally on the top of my mind as a villain, character design wise, that stood out for me. And I think it was like the combination of the dark red, the sharp features, like, just, again, there's another character in Disney as well, Princess and the Frog. What's that villain's name? The Baron. He wears the top hat. You know the one I'm talking about, right? And he does voodoo.
I do. I don't know the name.
I can't remember his name, but his design's amazing. And that's something different. It's based in New Orleans, so there's like all the voodoo going on. I really like that villain. He was interesting.
But he was a good take in terms of colour because he was magic.
Yeah.
It was more neons rather than, although he wore rich colours, it was also the use of like neons, and because of all their spiritual side of it, you could get away with much harsher, brighter colours rather than strong, like softer colours that were used, like for Tiana and Naveen. They all wore quite elegant, more pastel, like soft colours. So then you have the other side of the spectrum where it's bright, bold, magical, and you get the trickery from the get-go. Like, he's blatantly very different. And obviously he has a signature cane. A villain's always got something, haven't they? Like a cane or a wand or a staff.
Yeah, he's underrated. He's underrated for sure. Like, no one really talks about him a lot. But that was a good character in my opinion. I'm trying to think of another example now. Have you got one?
I was going to say. So I was going to come up with, here's my statement. If not all heroes wear capes, or if not all heroes wear capes, then not all villains wear cloaks, right? And so the costume, to me, that comes off, I think, really subtle are the scars. Like, you might have a telling scar. Yeah. Like the one across the eye one going down. It's really cool. I love that. Yeah, that was cool. Like, that dude's badass.
Yeah, he's been through some shit.
Been through some shit. And then I want to know that story, the claw mark that just is visible. Like, to me, when you see that character and you're like, that's the villain. There's the villain. There he is right there. Because he's not good looking. They're not good looking. Yeah. And so I like to take that and actually make that very confusing, right? So I don't want to go with dark colors equals this, da-da-da-da-da. And OOTP, Abby, you said something that actually made me think differently about what I need to do ahead of sharing my information with platforms that could potentially say, hey, since these two people in this book need to clash, we're going to change their colors now. I don't want that to be the purpose behind the sequence of colors that we choose for these characters, because that's not what I've done now. And now I'm thinking, subconsciously, have I done that? I need to go back and revisit that. But I don't think I have, because I really wasn't thinking about it. Well, that is subconscious. So what I mean is coming back full circle. I use an OOTP, jewel colored vibrancies, and then dark colored neutrals to make everything bold. Good, bad, doesn't really matter. In my book, everyone is the same. Whether you're a villain or an antagonist or whatever like that, everyone is human. And you know how I feel about that. Everyone is going to do something that not everybody's going to agree with in this book. And so I want people to be like, is Marcos the protagonist? I want people to do that, knowing that at the end of the day, they're going to have to judge the characters based off their actions.
You did something else interesting as well in that as well, because like with Ebro's costume, what stands out is the textures used as well. Like that is really different. Like it's another cue that we don't talk about often, but even if it's something that looks scaly, it's the kind of scales that make it like, oh, you're like, this guy's evil, just based on the choice of scales that are used for the armor.
Except Aquaman, right? Because that scale is prettier, right? Because it's jewel colored.
Yeah, he's got the orange, the green going on, emerald.
It's color. It's all color.
Yeah, the emerald and the orange. So it's like, this guy's not threatening.
No one wants to be scaly.
Yeah, he's not threatening at all.
Ariel's not a bad person. She's a mermaid, and mermaids are gorgeous, obviously. So.
And creepy though, like when you think about it, right?
Nobody remembers about sirens. They only think about the mermaids.
That's a good point.
Like the hotel, because in the weird fantasy, you're still like, she's still kind of hot. And you're like, no, dude, doesn't work.
But it's like, what can I do here? Because,
there's something in there, right? And he's just so bad. Same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, anything in Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever, right? It's like there are entities out there that could be attractive and don't look like us.
Yeah.
As in human.
Well,
and
Avatar,
you always ask the question.
There's a lot of that in Avatar as well. There's people that go crazy for the blue people.
And you're like, would I? Yeah, everyone asks themselves that. Everyone asks that. I got a friend. I'll leave her out of this, but she watches. I don't think she watches The Witcher, but she's seen pictures of Henry Cavill with the white hair, and she's just like, that does it for me. And I'm like, really? Never ever would have considered that was something that was, did something.
Like it's appealing to some people. Like
it's appealing, and I'm like, really?
It's Henry Cavill.
I was gonna say, like, is it just him? Like,
I could get on board with that, but it was like, no, specifically with the white hair. It's kind of, and I'm like, and I thought back to those old romance novels, right, where it's just like the guy with the horse and the long white hair and it's the long sword.
Good point.
And someone read those books.
Oh, I've got a good contrast for you as well. Off that point, the Lannisters, Game of Thrones, they're gold, they had the blonde hair, but they were the worst people. So they kind of...
Aryan race. Aryan race all goes back in history. History is so interesting, and how people develop and what you're attracted to is all like very similar to generations that you may not even know. Like, it's so interesting, and how there's certain things like gold is forever a rich color.
Yeah.
Like bronze is always weaker than gold. People know that. That's been passed along for years and years and years and years and years, which is why when you're going for something luxury, you go gold. Like if I was creating a luxury business or brand, like a jewelry brand, you go diamonds. Hello? Diamonds are forever. Like, why would your main signature be a ruby when you could have a diamond on your logo? Like, it's what people classify as more rich, but that has been forever. Cleopatra, for example, she was covered in gold, and she was crazy famous. She still is now, and she's been gone a long, long time.
That's a good point.
Gold is such a big thing in Egyptian culture, and gold is forever. Like, although people say diamonds are forever, gold is one of those currencies that makes money always. You're never going to go wrong investing in gold, are you? Like, it's one of those things.
No, that's a good
Symbol
point.
Of power.
See, and again, that's why again about this episode, there's actually a lot of pardon the pun, there's a lot of gems in there to kind of subvert the trope, because until you said that, Emma Remy, I was thinking about the Lannisters. Like, they were built up to be like looked at as these are the pinnacle of Game of Thrones, the world. They're at the top of everything. They've won all these wars. Like, they're looking down on the Starks. No one likes them because they have the dark hair, pale skin. Like, they looked kind of like malnourished in some ways. And it's just like subverting the trope by making them the worst people in that universe. Kind of threw everyone. No one was expecting, like Jamie in the first episode, to just push the kid out the window.
Because he's pretty.
Yeah, no one saw that coming.
Pretty man did not throw that child out that window. Yes, he did.
No one believed it. Yeah, just because of how he looked. So the psychology, you are right. You've both made some good points in there about how a lot of it is colours and psychology, because that's what you see first. It's a visual before they've said anything. Before you know what their ideas are, you see them, and automatically you're making your judgment. You're taking your little 10, 15 seconds to be like, oh, okay. This seems like a...
Unconscious bias is so real.
Yeah, it's powerful.
And to that same point, what was his brother's name?
Tyrion.
Dinklage. Tyrion.
Yeah.
And he is, a little person, right? And so naturally, when you look at him, you're like, villain.
Yeah.
In this story, because compared to his brother, this beautiful blonde, knight in shining armor, literally,
like the textbook knight kind of look he had.
Yeah, you're obviously like, well, he's obviously going to be jealous of him.
So now there's the resentment, and then all of a sudden, what do you see? Now everyone loves Tyrion.
Yeah,
everyone loves. They're like, yo, I'm supporting Tyrion because you're like his actions, and he was a drunk. In the beginning, like, he was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got. Well, I remember you hadn't seen it, but in the beginning, he's this. Yeah, he's not a good character. He's got a lot of developing he has to do first, and so you don't immediately want to be in his corner. But his brother's an asshole, right? And so now you're just rooting for this guy to get his feet under him. It's like, hey, yo, if you're the third child, right, we're gonna need you to be the best. Yeah, because your sister and your brother. Not only are they weirdos, but they're evil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They're the pure evil. Like, Abby, get on that. Like, you got to see that. I feel like you'd like it. It's, it's a bit heavy, like, in terms of, violence. I don't know how you feel about that, but...
See, I'm weak-stomached.
Oh,
man.
I'm
weak-stomached. I'm a
red
loser.
The Red Wedding was crazy, but story-wise, Abby, you'd like it.
I mean, it being called the Red Wedding gives me enough information.
Yeah, but red's a good color, I thought.
Yeah, contrast.
Depends what shade. It's dark red, certainly for evil. So,
yeah.
Hold on. I wanted to go back to that color psychology, because I actually agree with Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool character. You wear the color that's necessary. He says, so when you wear red, it's because you're planning on bleeding, right? Like, you get shot, blood, red. He says, you're going to need your brown colored pants for this next one. You know what I mean? It's like that scene, that stupid little quote stuck in my head, and that's what I took. And I was like, that's what I do in the book. I was like, their clothes subtly needs to match what's about to happen to them.